The left and the media together is really, really upset with Mark Zuckerberg today and Meta Facebook. And listen, I realize the company name has been changed to Meta, but it's Facebook. We all know it as Facebook. In fact, I will tell you as a programming note, I asked Joel Kaplan if he can be on the program tomorrow. We don't do a lot of interviews on this program. It's you guys and me. But I think this is such big news, and I happen to know Joel Kaplan. I reached out to his team to see if he would come on the show with me. Joel Kaplan is now the head of a policy for Facebook, and he has made some pretty big changes with Mark Zuckerberg today that minds are just exploding on the left. Now, elections have consequences. Let's be real clear here. Elections have consequences, and before I get to Facebook, allow me to get to the King of Denmark, King Frederick of Denmark. In the 1600s, yes, little history lesson here, the Swedes and the Danes decided they didn't like each other anymore. They had a big war. And the Danes wound up winning. The Swedes got their independence. It broke out of the Scandinavian trifecta there for the Swedish kingdom. But the Danish secured the right to place the Swedish Triple Crown in the Danish king's coat of arms. Now, it sounds really trivial to us in the 21st century. It was a big freaking deal back then because a king's coat of arms signifies the realms. And though Sweden got its independence, the Danes got to put the Swedish tri-crown in the king's coat of arms to signify that it was still, the Danes considered it part of the realm, even if they lost control of the territory. It was actually a matter about which these two nations went to war. And the Swedish Triple Crown has stayed in the Danish king and queen's coat of arms since the 1600s, until yesterday. Now, for perspective, the Swedish Triple Crown stayed in the Danish coat of arms during the unrest in the 1800s over Norway and Sweden, stayed during World War I, stayed during World War II. Only now, even after the secession of Schleswig-Holstein to Germany and the breakup of more of the Danish territory, it stayed, the Swedish Triple Crown did, in the Danish coat of arms. As of yesterday, it's gone. You know what's there now? The symbol of Greenland. Now, the Greenland and Faroe Islands, it was like a goat and a polar bear or something like that, were always there, but they were tiny little elements buried underneath the Swedish Triple Crown. Yesterday, the King of Denmark announced, now he became the king earlier in February of last year now, when his mother abdicated. All the European royalty except the British abdicate all the time. So this guy got rid of the Swedish Triple Crown that's been in his seal, been in his coat of arms since the 1600s, secured by treaty with the Swedish to be there. Ditched it yesterday to give more prominence to Greenland's symbol in the coat of arms. In other words, Donald Trump's election has international consequences where the King of Denmark has decided he's got to be a little more prominent in his support of keeping his kingdom together because he's afraid Donald Trump's going to take it from him. The governor of Greenland is saying he now wants independence and is asking for American help. Donald Trump, meanwhile, about 10 minutes ago announced he's going to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. I'm sorry. That's kind of a geography thing. I'm not going to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. So it's like the Freedom Fries thing back in the day. No, it's going to be the Gulf of Mexico for everybody. No one's going to change all the signs. But Trump says he wants to be the Gulf of America now, and you know, and I know some of his most diehard supporters are going to be the Gulf of America now. Elections have consequences, which gets me now to Facebook. Facebook has announced that it's getting rid of its fact checkers. Now, I got a bone to pick with Facebook. I'll pull the curtain back a little bit on this show. We were, for a time, making significant monthly revenue putting videos up on Facebook. we almost got to $10,000 one month a couple years ago. We regularly were making thousands of dollars a month. And full disclosure, I should note, Facebook and I have always had a pretty good relationship, and they've sponsored my conference the last number of years. But our revenue, when Facebook changed its algorithm, went from several $1,000s a month to no more than $17. In fact, I pulled up my bank statement for December. I made $13.21 on Facebook. And 2 years ago, I had made $3,000. Yeah, that's how much the change in the Facebook algorithm impacted my business. Putting up show videos, pictures, monologues, things like that. I went from making real money each month to making, $13. Facebook decided, with all the belly aching over 2016 and Trump's win, when 2020 came around, they were going to make changes. Particularly after Biden took to the White House, they really wanted to get off Biden's radar. So they decided to stop putting political news in the news feed. They downgraded political news. So groups like the Daily Wire, National Review, myself, and others all lost revenue. It particularly hit conservatives because conservatives had made more investments in Facebook than progressives had. And then Facebook decided that for news posts, they were going to add fact checkers. So if you put something on Facebook, it could get flagged and checked by fact checkers. And the way the fact checkers worked the system, it was you had some conservative and you had some progressive outlets. But the conservative outlets, like when I was running The Resurgent, looked at doing it. But you had to start a separate nonprofit division of your company in order to participate. And it was too much of a burden. Very few conservatives participated. And over time, more and more of them left and ceded the ground to the progressives. So you put something up that was factually true but made the Democrats look bad on Facebook, it was going to get flagged. They also went to war with people over pronouns and gender stuff. You dare call what's her name, the actress, Ellen Page, they were going to punish you on Facebook because Ellen Page changed her name to Elliot and decided that she wanted boy pronouns, even though she was a girl. You get into trouble. Their content moderation policies went to hell in a handbasket. They had all sorts of problems. And you got the sense, by the way, talking to the Facebook executives, that they didn't really want to go down this road. Some of them did. A lot of them didn't. Nick Clegg, who was in charge of public affairs at the time, was from Britain, pretty progressive guy. I think he liked it. But a lot of the other people, I think including Zuckerberg at Facebook, kind of bristled at the stuff they were doing. It was an overreaction, an overcorrection to the left. Well, elections have consequences. Donald Trump has won the election. Not only did Donald Trump win the election, Donald Trump won more votes than Kamala Harris. He didn't quite get to 51% of the vote, but he got to like 49.99% of the vote. Donald Trump did better against Kamala Harris than Bill Clinton did against George H.W. Bush back in 1992. And Republicans took the House, and Republicans took the Senate. And Facebook has finally realized the progressive belly aching, the screaming, the wailing, the gnashing of teeth from the left, they're all a paper tiger. They don't amount to much. So Facebook is announcing today, if you want to call Ellen Page, go for it. No more restrictions on gender discussions. They're moving their content moderation team from California to Texas. They're getting rid of the fact checkers. They're going to go to a community note system like Twitter uses, which is a much better system. The community itself votes on the community notes. The left is losing their mind. So remember, after the election, a bunch of progressives packed up from Twitter and moved to Blue Sky. Blue Sky is a progressive bastion, and the left feels safe there. They feel like they're in control. Remember the meltdown on CNN a couple of weeks ago before we went on Christmas break? Scott Jennings pointed out that Twitter was considered now the most fair and balanced social media site. And even the news anchor berated Scott Jennings, and he pointed out it was actually a CNN report that showed this, that Twitter is now like 50-50 left-right. It's like 51-49 in favor of the left, and the left can't abide by that. That's not lefty enough. It's not fair enough for the left. They got to be dominant. So they packed up and went to Blue Sky, which has turned into murder porn central. These people are trying to get everybody murdered on Blue Sky. It's like watching MSNBC, except online. Now they're upset about Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg, by the way, is adding Dana White of UFC. He's a big MMA fan. He's adding Dana White to the board of directors, and it's saying, oh, Facebook is becoming conservative. No, Facebook is becoming moderate. Facebook is going to the center. The problem here is people on the left have considered themselves to be the center of the country. And anyone who is at the center is actually to the right of where the left is, and the left thinks they have become these far-right wingers. Elections have consequences. The King of Denmark suddenly feeling the need to defend Greenland, this forgotten realm they never cared about. Canada ousting Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau resigning yesterday. He became the butt of Trump's jokes. The Canadian Liberal Party decided they'd had enough of him. They needed to get rid of him, so they ousted him. All the world leaders who were on the world stage when Donald Trump was president the last time are now gone, just as Donald Trump comes back. The Mexican president said that she would not reinforce the Remain in Mexico policy, now has decided that Mexico will be a safe haven for people seeking asylum in the United States, processing their claims until they can be dispatched across the border when Donald Trump says so. Elections have consequences. Now, what the left doesn't want you to see, what the left doesn't want you to pay attention to, what the Democrats hope you will never appreciate, is that all of these things could have happened in the last 4 years. All of these policy changes, the Danes feeling like they got to reassert themselves in Greenland, the Mexicans bending over backwards to placate Donald Trump, the Canadians trying to placate Donald Trump. All these things could have happened under Joe Biden's watch, and they didn't. And what corporate America is realizing, Robbie Starbuck, is the activist, has gotten McDonald's now to abandon DEI policies, Tractor Supply abandon DEI policies, Target walking back its DEI policies, Target announcing it's going to have a reduced Pride celebration this June. All these things happening because corporate America has realized with this election, the nation did not actually drift as far left as they presumed it had. What they were doing was they were being drowned out. The left is very loud. The left controls the echo chamber. The left controls the voices at CNN and MSNBC and ABC, CBS, NBC, the New York Times, controls Hollywood. And so it can disproportionately make itself seem larger than it is. And then an election comes around and Donald Trump gets the most votes. The Republicans win the House. They win the Senate. And suddenly corporate America realizes, you know what? The left is a paper tiger. A toothless one at that. Elections have consequences, and these big election consequences are showing up now on our daily lives and how we interact with each other online and off. Only the Academy and Hollywood are still entrenched with the left, and I suspect the Academy, academia, the university system is about to be under assault from the right, and it should be.